All right, we're back, baby. Season 2 of 1 Minute Recess. Here we go. Guess who's back from our summer break? That's right. Now we're back in. We're ready to rock and roll. It's been a wild summer in my household. I don't know about yours, Maria. But season 2. I hope you didn't enjoy your peace and quiet for too long, because we're back and we're ready to talk shit. So let's do it. Maria?
Yeah. Hi, everyone. We considered just disappearing, because of everything. Just disappearing. And also just disappearing like the spine of some Democrats. All around, generally. Everything is falling apart. But here we are. So you're welcome, everyone. We're back. Annette, I think we should catch up.
Yeah, I figured if Taylor Swift and Trav could do their summer break and then come back and announce an album, we should at least try. Steve Sebelius has been bugging me to come back on, which we're super excited about. So I was like, all right, let's do this again. So what's going on in your household? Because it's been a busy summer in mine.
It's been an insane time this summer. Lots of things decided to break down. And so, just repairs. I was like, that's great. Had a vacation, and then the house was like, welcome back, bitch. I'm going to start falling apart.
This feels right. Well, the reason why we didn't do a last closeout episode after session ended is because my dog passed away without notice. So those things tend to happen. And so we ended up having to put Squiggy down the day we were going to record. And I obviously came home and dealt with that. So sorry about that, everyone. Been a rough summer. Then Nick had surgery, speaking of things breaking down, had to get his ACL replaced. So he's been down for the count for a few weeks.
Broke down.
Literally, well, he's been breaking down for a year now. Went out of a little vacation, went to Disneyland because we had to get out of here for a minute and pretend we weren't in the reality of a complete meltdown of our entire political system. And we also did some stuff up north because I also had to move home from Carson City. So I'm back in Vegas, got done with Carson City, came home. It's been a wild summer, but Nick's up walking again. Haven't gotten a new dog yet. Here we are. We're back in Vegas, baby. We're ready to do this thing. Ready to talk shit.
Woo! Yeah. Ready not zip up our mouths and be, So what do we miss, Annette?
Well, let's start at the local level. The end of session came and went. The last time we all chatted, I was still at the legislative building. It was 7:30 at night. I was there until probably midnight that night. I watched the demise of the film tax credit bill, which was an interesting thing to watch because for once in our lives, corporations lost. And I was like, who knew? I didn't know this could happen. That was weird. So I watched that. I watched a filibuster in the Senate by Ira Hansen. And I got to be honest with you, Maria, that was not on the bingo card for the end of session. We did not peg that for the end of session. Me, you, and Steve were not and Ira Hansen's going to filibuster. We don't really have a filibuster in the state of Nevada, but he filibustered. And when he filibustered and literally just talked for the last 15 minutes of session, he ended up killing most of the governor's bills. So that was the thing that happened. And I was literally sitting in the assembly. So I'm sitting in the assembly chamber with my phone up to my ear, listening to Ira Hansen filibuster while I'm watching the assembly be like, what is going on? And at a certain point, a lot of them were coming up to the lobbyists, being seeing us on the, listening to it and being like, what is happening in the Senate? Why are we not getting anything? Because normally they have essentially pages who run back and forth between the chambers. There was no running this session because there was nothing to run. So the way it started was the senators locked Starvos Anthony out of the chamber because he had to go to the bathroom. So they lock his ass out of the chamber. Marilyn Dondero Luke gets up there and is doing her thing and trying to run session from behind. And he's at the door, let me in, let me in, let me in. And they're like, hey, our guy's outside, the Republicans. Hey, Starvos is out there. And finally, Ira's just had enough of the Democrats' nonsense. He gets up and he starts Essentially, yeah. And most days I'm like, Ira, you're full of shit. But like this time I was like, he's not wrong. He's actually not like he was so done with the nonsense by the Democrats. I get why him and Robin Titus were pissed off at the end. I do too. Like, I get it. I have to say that in a very nonpartisan way. I get why they were angry. So there were all these
Were they mostly
shenanigans
angry
because of the
because they
process.
locked him in?
But also because like they had been putting out amendments and like nobody had time to read them, like giant amendment. You know how it is at the end of session. Like giant ass shit is just trying to get out the door. And all session long, they were like not having time for hearings, not having time for us to read amendments. It's just not the way you do things, right? And it was happening on both sides, in all fairness. And I'm just like, why do we always wait until the last minute to do these giant bills? Like, that's always been a beef of ours, right? And so finally had enough. And then Starvos broke him. And it was a sight to
Tea
behold.
break ruined it all.
I was like, we broke Ira. Finally, this is what caused Ira to break. It wasn't transgender people. It was a lack of decorum. Got it. Understood. Okay, sir.
Lack of decorum.
Okay, sir. So that was weird. Like the crime bill died. The education bill died. Some of it, I was like, well, that's fine with me.
So what did make it out?
Well, what did make it out all got vetoed. So it didn't matter if it made it out because homeboy, who's our governor,
That session didn't happen.
He was like, fuck this shit. I'm getting my veto pen out and just vetoed everything that mattered. Because I think he was still pissed that his stuff didn't get through. And then, like, the good stuff, like most of the normal people care about, he was like, no, workers don't need to have a king care bill. Veto. They don't need to have childcare and HOAs. Veto. I was at an event this weekend with Senator Melanie Scheibel, dear friend of mine. I think she's amazing. I love Melanie to death. And even Melanie was like, we didn't know why he did it. And then Senator Canizaro was there at this breakfast as well. And she's talking about how she took lists and lists and lists to the governor to like be like, friend, this is our priorities. What on here can you support? What can we send you? And like trying to get ahead of the problems, right?
Mm-hmm.
They couldn't give her answers. They couldn't give her answers. So let me just say, incompetence. That is the word for session. I have never seen a worse run session in my life. And I think there are many, many factors that played into that. But within the lobby core, the feeling amongst everybody was just overall incompetence. Like, this is stuff cannot get done if we continue operating like this and we continue not communicating. The communication in that building from the Democrats, from the Republicans, from the governor, from leadership, the communication has to change and it has to improve, or we are going to become what they are at the federal level.
So for a noob who might be like, I've never
Yeah.
paid attention to other sessions.
I'm jealous. I'm so jealous of you.
It's so jelly. Yeah. Good. Welcome to the circus. And might be asking, so if this was the worst, how did it work in others? Like, what can be improved on that worked in others?
Yeah, I think the communication, right? I think the difference in this session was, if I'm being totally honest, you had a speaker who was halfway out the door. Speaker Yeager has since then, which we'll talk about in a minute, has since then said he's not running for speaker again. He's also not running for his assembly seat again. I just don't think he really wanted to be there at that point. You have a majority leader in the assembly who's no longer running again. She has her eye on other things. So I think, in that chamber, a lot of people are looking to move up, are looking to move out because, with term limits, it really limits them on how long they can stay in those positions. And they don't get paid anything. So, like, okay. And then you've got the Senate where other people are looking for higher positions as well. People are looking to move up in leadership. And this is on the Republican side too, right? Like, this is not just a problem with the Dems. And you have a governor who's running for re-election. So in his first term, he was trying to be more magnanimous. He was trying to look a little more moderate. But now we're in the Trump era. Why does he have to look more moderate when he's siding with Daddy Putin and Daddy Trump? Like, he's calling the troops in. Why does he need to look more moderate? He's out here vetoing shit. He doesn't care. So you've got you've got the governor who's and you know, it's so funny. I look back at some of the podcasts we did. I was really reserved on the governor. I was really trying not to mouth off about the governor. I had to give him a chance, right? Like, I wanted to say,
Yeah.
Lombardo, maybe, just maybe, you could turn over a new leaf. You can surprise me, sir.
Pull a
No,
Brian Sandoval and be not
no,
terrible.
no. He got
No.
worse. I don't know how,
He picked
but
the
he
trump
managed to
card.
get worse. So here we are. And so for the newbies at home, there's a lot of like political things at play. And I think that's going to be part of what we have to look at going into reelection, because all of these people, including Joe Lombardo, either want to run for a higher office or they're looking to run for reelection. And like, is that the kind of person we really want serving our state? And I think the answer in some cases is no.
Yeah, I mean, especially at a time when it looks like the only way to fight back or do something in the vacuum of the incompetence of Congress, the fascism of Trump, is the states,
100%. I
like
mean, it's
governors
all
and
on the states
legislatures.
now. Yep. Yep. I mean, we
Yeah.
saw it. Listen, I don't think Gavin Newsom's the answer to all our prayers. Like, I'm not out here espousing that. I'm not one of those. But does it make me chuckle when he goes after Donald Trump? Yes, it does. Yes, it does, ma'am. And I think the only way to fight fire at this point is if the states stand up and give Donald Trump the finger. I really, really believe that. And I think the next test is going to be Chicago. Over the weekend, we've seen that, you know, Yam Tits is calling the National Guard into Chicago. It's gonna take another governor to be like, "Get the fuck out of here, Donald. Like, you're not doing this shit."
Yeah. Troops in our streets, people. Troops in our streets.
Which is funny to
And no,
me
no,
also.
we live in a dystopia now, so let's think of in dystopian. The actual like dangerous places are like places where shootings happen, which is everywhere. So it's not like they're out here like helping the cops deal with shootings. They're just
They're literally
intimidating people.
I was talking to my friend who lives in DC, right? Who has lived there forever. Also, for the record, I've never felt unsafe in DC. I go out at night, I go on, like, the scooters down to the National Mall, like, never felt
Walk
unsafe in
long
DC.
distances. Yeah.
Whatever. I think, number one, it's hilarious that Donald Trump felt unsafe. I'm like, bro, you live behind gates with the best security force in the world. Give me a fucking break. You just met with Putin and you're afraid of DC? Okay. Okay,
And put
friend.
them in your car. Okay.
But I was talking to my friend and I was like, so wait, so are they literally like because he took video and he was like, I was like, are they literally just like standing around doing nothing? He's like, literally, they're just taking up space at this point. They're just making it harder to like drive when it's already a pain in the ass in DC to drive. So it's all a show. Like everything, he thinks he's on a fucking reality show again. Like this is all a reality show to make himself, feel like he's doing something. You're not doing anything. And also, like, I don't know about you, Maria. I know there are a lot of people who are fucking afraid of this administration for good reason, especially our undocumented friends and people now who have visas and like I get it, right? But you're gonna go try some motherfuckers in Chicago? Like my grandparents are from Chicago. I just don't know if that's gonna go well with like Italians and black folks. Like, I feel like they're just gonna not put up with this bullshit.
Let's remember who made Vegas what it was, the Chicago mob.
Right?
Bugsy Siegel. It was the Chicago
It's
mob.
like, you really okay, that's a bold choice.
It's time to let the mob do what it's good at.
I'm not opposed. Yeah, it's been a fascinating summer. What a time to
It
be
really
alive.
has. It
What a
really has.
time to
It
be
feels like 3 summers. I was telling my mom, speaking of, states having a spine, is, she was wondering, okay, so after the elections, like, let's say great people win governor and legislature, when is the next session? I told her when it was. And she was like, that fucking late in the game? She was like, we got to live a whole year?
Yeah, and for the new folks who are watching, who are like, okay, so like Annette, you move back up every no, 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 no. I don't move back every year. Thank God. That's a lot of moving.
That-
No. Annette will not move back now until 2027. And that's part of the problem too, right? When we bring it back down to the state and local level, like, the county does a lot of great work. And I actually love our county commission down here. Washoe, same thing. They're fine. A lot of the city governments are doing a lot of good work. But yeah, that's where the majority of the work happens in this state because we got to wait for 2 years. Now, here's the other part of this that we got to talk about because talk about like, I know a lot more from the last time we met in June, right? So, because of the shenanigans that happened at the end of session, i.e., Ira Hansen got wild and filibustered, governor's bills died, we're probably gonna have to have a special session at some point. So we're hearing we may have to have a special session in November because
Cool.
yeah, can't wait for that. It's gonna be nice and cold. And it better be over before BravoCon because I will not be missing BravoCon for any of this nonsense at the state level. I will not. But hearing the governor's bills will come back up, specifically the crime bill, which I have very, very mixed feelings about, and hearing that they're going to have to tweak the housing bill because that housing bill was not the best, the governor's housing bill. But, messed a couple things up in the housing bill. And then hearing we're hoping to see Medicaid funding and SNAP funding put aside in a bank account so that IFC, the interim finance committee, so those are the money committees that meet between the time of when the legislature meets. So those are called interim committees. Those are starting to happen now. They're going to put that money for SNAP and for Medicaid into accounts because that big bullshit bill that happened over the summer, which was hot garbage, that is going to start to kick in early 2026. So the state is going to have to be ready to address that. And so hopefully, if we go back into a special, Nicole in particular, but Nicole and Steve, if he's still there, Steve Yeager, Speaker of the Assembly, those things will be taken care of during a special. That's the hope.
So this might not be a thing anymore, but don't they have a blackout of like 30 days if there's and we vote? Like, how's that going to work?
Wait,
In like
so
the heat of GOTV.
well, no, 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 no. This November. So GOTV is not till next year.
Got it.
So
That's right.
this November. So I know you're not sucked into this shit anymore. So yeah, so that'll happen this November, November 2025. GOTV won't happen until November 2026, essentially. But it's still interesting because they've changed the rules now. So there was a bill to change the rules that constitutional officers, now the rules apply to them too. So it's not just the Nevada legislature who has a fundraising blackout 30 days before and 30 days after a legislative session. And that's so that like bribery and stuff can't happen. There's now a blackout on the governor, on AG, on treasurer. And why does that matter? Well, the governor's running for re-election. Attorney General Ford is running against the governor. Zach Conine, our treasurer, is running for attorney general. Nicole Cannizzaro is running for attorney general. You've got the controller, Andy Matthews. I don't know what he does. I guess he's running for re-election. Nobody cares. But, you got a lot of people moving around. So that 30-day window of not being, it's essentially 60 days, they cannot fundraise. That's a long time. So doing it over the holidays and having that blackout over the holidays when a lot of people are not fundraising anyways because of the holidays makes a little more sense. So if they do it in November, it does make a little more sense, but they better get it done. And I'm hearing the hotels are the ones that want the special session. And I'm hearing that they're trying very hard to bring the film tax credit back up. And I hope Roberta Lang kills it again. Just so I can watch. Just so I can watch.
Not sucked in. So for the people that aren't sucked in
Yeah.
and who like tuned out mid-session or something or have no idea, but they may have seen her picture and like refer to her as the film tracks because she originally did it.
Yes.
So what happened? Isn't she the film person?
Girl, how much cheese made to tell you about.
She's made that.
Roberta Lang, Senator Roberta Lang, she is the one who started the film tax credit. This was 2 sessions ago now. And it was her brainchild. She was working with the union. She was working with Howard Hughes. She was working with a couple of the different studios. They were trying to make all the pieces fit together. It failed the first session they tried it. I can't say last session anymore because we're past that now. So it failed in the 2023 session. And instead of because it was so expensive in particular, and because of the fact that we did a idiot stadium with the A's, which I still maintain is the worst idea ever. And I don't know about you, Maria, but it's still not being built. They're still just pushing around the dirt out there. So just want to say. Anyways, so fast forward, we're in the 2025 legislative session. Now there are two bills, one in the assembly with Assembly Member Howdigi, Assembly Majority Leader, and Assembly Member Danielle Monroe Moreno, which importantly, she's not coming back either, and she ran the budget in the assembly. She is running for North Las Vegas mayor.
Who's gonna run the oh,
Literally, everything's up in arms, Maria. There's so much chaos in the assembly. We can talk about that in a minute, too. So Roberta Lang has one bill. The assembly has the other bill. So assembly, Senate. Roberta is working with one film credit or one studio. Danielle and Sandra are working with Howard Hughes and another studio. You've got dueling bills. You've got dueling people working on those bills. So we knew that the assembly bill was going to get out of the assembly. Clearly, they're not going to buck their leadership. But once it got over to the Senate, we were like, what's going to happen? Right? Because I wasn't sure that it was going to get out. And Roberta was just like putting on the brakes because she was offended by everything that happened. Rightfully so, right? She put a lot of work into that. And just because she got sick doesn't mean she shouldn't have been the one shepherding it. She should have been involved with that, is my feeling. Like, you don't do that to people.
Yeah, that's super disrespectful, especially if, like, they pioneered that issue. Like, we had never like, she's the one that
Ford, she kind of took it from Ford, right? Because Ford, when he was in the Senate, did the original film tax credits. But he didn't do anything with, like, the studio or setting up a studio or whatever.
she brought in Hawkeye.
100%. So it gets to the Senate. They can't figure it out. We're at the last day. I'm watching the lobbyists for this run back and forth. I'm watching friends of ours in labor very angry about what's happening. Now, one of the things we kind of alluded to, but I didn't know quite was happening then, was there was also a revolt in the assembly happening at one point. And so that's why a bunch of other bills died, is because there was a revolt because they made them vote on a bill and they weren't like taking them in the caucus room and actually like talking about the issues. So like,
So
I found that out. Like, that has been the talk of the town after session. I didn't know any of that had happened when we were last talking, but wow. I saw our AB 500 bill go down 4 times because Steve Yeager didn't know didn't have the votes. But he did know he didn't have the votes because me and my client told him. Anyways, hot mess express. Communication needs to improve. So, last day of session, lobbyists for the film tax credit are running back and forth. They can't get a deal. It dies, like, in spectacular fashion. It just doesn't come up. And then Roberta turns it into a study, which I had happened to me a few weeks before that on a different bill. But this time I was like, that's like the biggest FU of all, is turning something into a study. Yeah, so it happened to the film tax credit. So I am hearing they're trying desperately to get that back on the agenda for special. We'll see if it happens.
This is wild because you know how regular people have no idea what the fuck is going on, and how I think just generally it's like everyone goes to the Carson bubble and you think everybody is gonna know.
Nobody knows any of this.
My nail person was like, man, I don't know how we got into this discussion. And she was like, the movie studios are going to get made here, right? And she was like, it's happening. And she goes, no, it's really happening. And I was like, I don't think it is. I think where they left off is that it's not happening.
Yeah.
But that just goes to show you, like, it's literally not happening. It's not happening so much that it's a study. And for all the noobs out there, when you really don't want something to happen, or you kind of want to throw shade at someone for something, you just turn it into a study. And you can either drag it along and never pick it up. And there you go. Wow.
And this is just like, there was another bill, right, to like have voter ID. Because listen, voter ID is going to be on the ballot. They were trying to usurp the governor. So like that shit was it was a mess. It was a wild time to be up at session. Listen, I'm really thankful I didn't have to be involved in that fight, because that would have been a really hard fight for me to be in. But just watch, even me, like not being involved the way I was previously, right? We were working previoususly in our old jobs on every single bill all the time, right? It wasn't just the gun bills, it was the voting rights bills, it was all this stuff. And to be there and to kind of back up and watch it from like a 30,000-foot view, because like I didn't have skin in the game on the film tax credit. I didn't have skin in the game this time on, I mean, other than my personal feelings on the matter. I didn't have skin in the game on like the voting rights stuff, but watching how the legislators were dealing with it and how like the public was just being kind of shut out of the process. Like we've complained about that for years, right? And I think they learned some important lessons about talking to their caucus members, like, especially on the assembly side. They just were not doing it. I think a
What?
lot of stuff, there was a lot of damage done within the caucus now. And so there's going to be a leadership change here. They're supposed to be voting because Sandra and Steve are like, we're out. There's going to be a leadership change. And it sounds like there's a leadership vote coming up the next couple of weeks. And there's a bunch of new people running for leadership. And I actually think that could be a good thing, right? Now, who becomes speaker also is going to be interesting because it wasn't like when Jason and TBT and Maggie Carlton like transitioned. They did a lot of like mentoring, hand holding, getting people ready to take on like the budget. They really got Danielle to take that on. I think Danielle's done some mentoring, but everybody wants to be speaker. Everybody wants to be majority leader. You got these sophomores who think they're just going to run for speaker. I was like, that's not how any of this works. And so like there's now been this vacuum of there is no leadership, right? There is no mentorship. We're just going to kind of go out here and raw dog the legislature essentially. And because of that, now you've got all these people kind of trying to jostle for leadership positions. And what that ends up doing is, and I don't think they realize this, but I do, the institutional machine, if you will, if you're catching my drift, Maria,
Mm.
could very well lose power because they haven't set up a succession line because they were too busy holding on to power. They were too busy trying to kick people out or ruin people's careers or whatever it happens to be this week, or going and doing other things, that they forgot to mentor the next class of leaders who are going to come up behind them. Again, this is exclusively on the assembly side. The Senate is a different set
Mhm.
of dynamics. But on the assembly side, it has been very interesting to watch because the power plays and people who want to move into leadership positions, it has been fascinating. And I think what they don't understand right now is there is going to be outside influences who are going to start looking at those leadership races in ways they never have before, because there is an opportunity to take some of that power away from the machine that has operated heavily in the assembly.
Yeah, I have so many thoughts.
Listen, y'all, I'm
And
not kidding when I say this. It was like a ghost town all of summer for the assembly, right? For the legislative process. Like we stopped session, the vetoes all happened, and then it was like crickets. That's why I was like, well, I guess we could take the summer off. Not a lot happening other than like, the federal demise, but I get sick of talking about that every day. So I was like, well, all right, we can maybe go till like Labor Day and then kick it back off after Labor Day. I think I texted you the day everybody went back to school. It was August 11th, a day that lives in my brain now because it was like, kids are back in school. We got to get wild here. And I started getting like these phone calls as a lobbyist, right? From legislators, from different lobbyists. And they're like, what do you know? What do you know? What's happening? Who's running for speaker? Who's running for this? Who's running for that? And then Steve and Sandra made their announcement. It's just like, okay, so apparently we're all back to work now, apparently. Okay. All right. Good to know.
woohoo! What keeps running through my head as I hear this is this session that just ended, and now, just generally, worst fucking time to place. I am on an episode of Succession, Desert Edition. Worst fucking time to just be like, talk to my caucus. I'm just gonna do power plays. I'm just gonna shiv people in the front and the back. Like it is.
Think though
We
this
had
is
such an
why
opportunity to actually be smart.
this is why Democrats continue to lose. Is
Mhm.
because we, and I say it loosely, I say we now because I'm moving more and more. I am progressive as all get out on the issues, but like being associated with the party drives me crazy at this point. I do the Southwest Dems for Steve Horner because I love Steve Horner, right? Like, it's not because of the Dems, it's because of Steve Horner. That's it. Hard stop. I help
Mhm.
Donna because I love Donna, not because I love the Dems, right? I am so sick of the party at this point. Overall, just generally in life, watching them flail at the federal level, watching them flail here at home. I'm like, this is why we can't have nice things, friends. This is why we have Donald Trump. There is no desire to do anything any differently than you've been doing it the last 20. And what they don't understand is it's not motivating us on the left. None of this motivates me. None of this makes me
No,
want to be like, let's get in the streets and fight. And
it
it's
demotiv
not
motiv
riling up our base. No. Like, people are scared, people are angry, people are demoralized. And the Dems are like, Cory Booker, let's make another speech. Okay. Hakeem
Whoa!
Jeffries was here last week. I was like, okay, great. So what are you actually
He
doing?
is very disappointing
I had high hopes for that man. Call Nancy back in. At least she'll hold Trump's feet to the fire. Ugh, I'm
in
over
her
it.
heels. Yeah,
Huh? It's humid and I'm over it. Is the vibe of this summer.
that's the vibe check. Yeah, it's this shit's really fucking stupid.
Girl.
I know you have to work with them, and so sometimes, you gotta but Nevada Democrats and everyone, just get it fucking together. This is you know what? I think, Ira Hansen maybe was all of us in his filibuster that you talked about. Like, just upset at the whole fucking thing. Like, this is fucking stupid.
You know me.
Come on now.
99.9% of the time. I do not agree with Ira Hansen, right? I find him to be offensive as a person. I love his wife, but I find Ira to be offensive. Honestly, Maria, I couldn't find fault in what him and Robin Titus were saying that night. I just couldn't. Like, do better. And this is a comment for it is a nonpartisan comment again. Like, governor, do better. Legislature, do better. We are in a constitutional crisis at the federal level where we need leaders to step up and stop bullshitting about stuff. I need the governor to stop being, you know, in the back pocket of Donald Trump because and that's not again, not a partisan statement. That is a real thing that is happening. But I also
Give
have
it
a
quack like a
legislature,
duck.
right? The only one in the legislature is Nicole, who's like over here strategizing. Where was Steve? Where was Sandra? And I'm just like, what is happening, guys? Get it
You would think
together.
they would Yeah, you would think they would all, hold hands, have some donuts together, and do some good shit. Cause some good
Well,
trouble,
and we
right?
haven't even
Even
talked
something
about the legislators who may not come back. It's just
Ugh,
chaos.
this is not
Chaos.
this is not
Not
this
the
is
way you
not
do
the
work.
time. This makes me so mad.
And it's interesting. I am very much, and I am very happy about this for the record. I am not part of that machine anymore. And I am very thankful about that, right? Like, the clients I have are awesome and amazing and allowed me to like learn new things and do new things. And most of those clients I still have at this point, right? Like, I am still working with them actively, which is awesome. I love my client list now and like it's growing. But again, it's not the usual suspects. It's not the normal shit that I was doing, right? And I'm really glad I had those clients because I was pushed in different ways. I learned new issues, things like that. But kind of being an outsider looking in, almost like you, right? Like, because you were not participating actively in the legislature unless I was like, Maria, some shit's popping off. I need you and Nick to call in, right? As like a citizen. It's very disappointing to watch.
Mhm.
And from everything I'm hearing from like our friends who still work in the progressive movement, stuff's not great there either, right? Like, stuff is
Really?
not great. No, no. I may or may not have gone to a birthday party last weekend with two of our favorite progressive leaders who we still talk to and we're still friends with, and not great there either. And I think the feeling is still the same, right? Like, first of all, I think there's a handful of people who are just not even a handful at this point. There are a bunch of people who are just calling it in at this point and collecting a paycheck. But I think then the rest of them are just fighting uphill, right? And feeling, again, demoralized, feeling overwhelmed, and feeling like, you know what, we're just going to stick to the state because at this point, the federal government's a waste of time.
Yeah. Yeah.
delegation for the majority, right? They've been disappointing too.
Whole, the
What
whole,
are y'all doing? And now we got people trying to primary denatide. I'm like, y'all, can we just stop? Stop. Stop. We have bigger fish to fry. Stop.
Look, now is not the time to primary a nuclear expert.
No, probably not.
And many people are like, why the fuck does that matter? Nuclear war. That's why. Like, we have an idiot in the White House, and we kind of need someone who just knows and can sit on committees related to that and understand things and ask the important questions. Yeah. Because outside of the US, everything is fucked up. It's just everything is fucked up too.
Like
So it's just,
fascism is alive and well and spreading around the globe.
So it is just, going back to the local, it is not the time to play, what can I do next? It is the time to, I don't know, hunker down in your role and do it the best way possible and actually understand the times we're living in.
Here's my hope.
And they're going to get worse.
If you don't want to be in the Nevada legislature, then don't fucking be there, right? That's my feeling on the matter. If you don't want to do the work, then don't go. You know what you sign up for when you run for office in the Nevada legislature, right? You don't get paid. You're up there for 4 months of just grueling work. Nobody knows what you're doing. Nobody appreciates what you're doing. And then you go up there and there's backstabbing and infighting. And again, this is nonpartisan statement. Happens on the Republican side, happens on the Democrat side. But at the end of the day, if you don't want to be there, then don't go. Don't run for office. Because you know what you're signing up for. And I'm so sick of hearing these people go up there like they're fucking martyrs, right? I made such a sacrifice to do this. No, you signed up for a job. You knew you were getting paid half time. Then go do your
fucking
an
application fee.
Shut up. You ran for office because
who pays sacrifices? People that have to take up 2 jobs, let's say on the Strip, and don't see their families.
You don't go to the Nevada legislature unless you are independently wealthy or have a job that is flexible enough that you can go up there for 4 months and take 4 months off.
Yeah. So no,
as a legislator,
not a sacrifice.
It's not a sacrifice.
It is a civil duty.
I know you're away from your kids. I know you're away from your family. You signed up to do it. You knew what you were signing.
Assume the consequences.
All of us know what we're signing up for. I went to session for 4 months, and 2 days after session, my dog died. I knew he was sick. I knew what I still went to work. I still got the job done. I'm not a martyr because of that. That's our job. Maria, you've been in this with me. You know what you have to do. You turn off stuff, and you get to work. And so if you don't want to be there, then don't go. But I am so sick of these people sitting there whining about, I had to go to session. It's so hard.
So, there's just, I think, and we talked a lot about this when we literally worked together, but it's somehow much more apparent when you're on the outside looking in. I'll start with the should. There should be, whether you're either on the advocacy side or actually elected, you are assuming the understanding and consequences of this isn't a 9-to-5 job, and it shouldn't be a 9-to-5 job because it deals with the way that people in the state actually get to live their lives. You're doing a civic duty. You are serving the public. No matter what party you're on, no matter if you're elected, if you're the governor, if you are the speaker, or if you're just a page in the legislature, you are working for the public. You're not some king person. You're not some, little. And so it's really upsetting to hear those people, whether advocacy or elected, say, this is really hard. No one wants to hear you talk about this is really hard because you work for us and you're supposed to serve us. So you can't assume the consequences.
Number of advocacy groups who this session just kind of phoned it in.
Literally.
Maria, I don't have the time or the patience for it. Where were you? Where were you?
Yeah.
When I have people coming up to me like, where is so-and-so and why aren't they here this session? At times, Plan was one of the only groups in the building. The only groups.
Yeah, they were the only source of information that I had.
Groups, but Sierra Club and the Environmental Justice Coalition, 2 of the only groups in the building. Where are the rest?
Yeah, the only ones that The only ones that I
And I'm not
got
counting our
information
union
from
brothers
in
and
my email
sisters,
box.
right? Our union brothers and sisters were there all the time. I'm talking about true blue advocacy stuff. I got some
Yeah.
feelings on the matter.
And what's also really upsetting is I'll share because it was something that someone at my work, he doesn't live in the country in the US. So he's from the outside looking in, right? And he lives in a country that has had fascism and has had terrible things. And, US people were constantly sharing news about what's going on and things like that. And at one point he just said, I wonder, if people in the US, like when you need to hunker down and fight, if like people are gonna actually fight or
Sure.
and be the land of the free and the brave, or if they're just going to sit there. And all the and I felt it because I was like, this session, I saw no fight. Other than like the small groups you mentioned, I saw no fight.
It's interesting you mentioned that because that is an underlying tone here, which I don't think addressed as much as we should have, but like we talked about it, but like couldn't put my finger on it, right? Like I couldn't really figure out what was going on. We would address it here and there. But I think the legislature they're always afraid for their positions, right? Like they're always running for their next office now.
In
Term
good times,
limits,
they're afraid.
again, term limits have done that, right? Where they're always constantly running for their next position. I'm so sick of it. But some really important legislation died because they are running for their next position. I think that's why our mushroom bill died. Personally, it got trapped in Ways and Means, and now look where our friend who ran Ways and Means is going, right? Running for the next office. But even more than that, I don't think the Democrats overall, globally, federally, statewide, know how to deal with Donald Trump, which is crazy because he's been there before. We've seen this all before. The first term was a practice run for this bullshit. He wrote it down. It's in Project 2025. Let me remind everybody for the 4,000th time. So why don't we have a plan when this dumb motherfucker at the federal level says he's going to cut Medicaid? Why don't we have a plan when he says he's going to leave giant holes in the Nevada budget? So they're all just running scared like, well, we can't do anything because we don't know what's going to happen to the budget. No, you do. You don't know to the level, but I don't know, fight back. Like the only one, Maria, when I say this with hesitation. The only one, and I think it's because she's running for AG. The only one I saw fighting back against Trump this session was Canizaro. That's it. She's the only one. I mean, and I don't count like Zach Conine. He did some good stuff as treasurer. Ford has been, honestly, out of everyone in the state, Ford has been phenomenal. And
You
I've
just
gone
add
rounds
your
with my
dunking.
friend Aaron Ford, but he has been dunking on Donald Trump. The only one, though, in session, in the actual legislative building going after Donald Trump, the way they should be is Nicole Canizaro.
Fucked up. Sorry, I'm getting a candle delivery from my mother.
It's nice. The queen. She makes her appearance. First day back. First week back, and she's making her appearance. Oh, that's nice. Calm me down. Give you some peace.
It's
all right.
Hang on. Cafe au lait, much better than the legislative session.
Cafe au lait in the fall of democracy. All right. So let's switch gears a little bit because it all intersects, right? Before we wrap up tonight, because there's so much we have to catch up on. So now we're in the time period we call the desert period, where we're between legislative sessions. The next legislative session, regular legislative session, not special session, starts in 2027, February of 2027. We know there's going to be significant change to the Nevada political climate and landscape over the next 2 years because there's a lot of shakeups coming. We talked a lot about that. But we also know Donald Trump continues his nonsense at the federal level. We have a delegation that's struggling, I think, federally to fight back. Democrats generally are struggling to fight back. What happens, do you think, and this is looking forward, especially in your job, which is more of an international role now, what do you think happens between now and the next legislative session? And what do you think legislators are going to have to deal with in 2027?
That is a $1 million question.
Right?
One thing that I definitely know legislators will have to deal with between now and 2027 is pushback and questions from the public, because I think the more that Trump does in states, and states fight back, right? Like you have a governor that fights back, you have a legislature that fights back. I think and hope that they'll have questions on what the fuck are you what is Nevada doing? Like if my mother, who is, because she doesn't text with you every day during session, so she's less pulled into it. When she is sitting here going, when can we, there's something gonna happen here, right? Like do to mitigate, at least mitigate what he's doing, if possible, fight back. And so I think, and I think even on Republicans, because, when you're starting to lose people like Joe Rogan, I think Republicans are going to start wondering, no, but really, what are we doing here?
We
And I
lost
think,
my dad was at my house last weekend, Maria. This is fascinating. You know, I've had some issues with my dad over the years on certain issues, right? And my dad looks at me and Nick and says, I went to my psychiatrist the other day and she was like, what's wrong with you? And he's like, I'm just tired of waking up every day to like horrible news and families being separated and people being treated horribly. And for my dad, right, a middle class white dude who has not a worry in the world, he is retired, incredibly privileged, to understand the horrific treatment of certain people in this country right now. I mean, it's always been there, but it's like escalated, obviously, now. That says something to me. When he understands the depravity of this administration, that says something to me.
yeah. And so I think they're going to have to, like you said, have plans ready, or at
To
least have
lead,
answers ready. Yeah.
have
And this is
to do something that's outside of a normal playbook for talking points to run for the next
like,
reelection. Like maybe actually like do some real shit.
yeah, like you have to hunker down and actually realize, like, if the experts on fascism have already left the country because they're like, it is unsafe, especially for us, because we literally study this shit. You have to understand now your job is even more crucial and important, and you need to take good control of it and understand the landscape, understand that you might have to be uncomfortable, you might have to work a lot, and you might have to fight back and not phone it in. And I say that especially for state stuff because, as you mentioned, I work more on international stuff. And the international landscape, if you think Nevada, it's deep and dark and horrible. And there's so fear and so much happening and so much that could happen, especially as other countries are having elections and the US is doing even more fucked up shit than we've ever done before. So if there's something that you can control, which is what happens locally in your state, you need to fucking do it, because people ultimately between now and the elections, and especially between now and 2028, are looking for something good that is happening.
Yeah. I
And you
mean, they're
have to
looking to
give it
be
to them
inspired.
as a
Yeah.
public servant. Yeah. So
If
as a
if
public servant, you need to understand that.
Well, and to answer your colleague's question about like, are Americans going to go in the street and fight? I think it depends. Depends, right?
It
And
depends.
Nick and I were talking about this the other night. Like, what is the tipping point? What gets people pissed off? Is it the National Guard coming into your city? Maybe. Is it taking away your freedoms when you get to the airport? Is it not allowing you to travel anymore? Like, what's it gonna take? Because we're all like, it's all coming.
Mhm.
So, are you afraid? Those of us who don't have, the immigration situations that a lot of our brothers and sisters have. Is it is it that you're afraid? Is it that you don't think it's real? Is it that you don't think it's actually going to happen? Is it that you think it's not going to get that bad? Because friend, a bunch of you told us it's not going to get that bad and now we're here. And we're 7 months in. Friends, it's only going downhill
7
from
months.
here. Yeah. We're only on like the first 25 pages of Project 2025. We haven't even gotten to the
It's not
bad
even
stuff
midterm
yet.
yet.
Yeah. We haven't even tried to remove elections. Wait, it's coming because Texas just did their bullshit. And thank God California was like, nah, fuck this. We ain't
Nah,
doing
no,
this.
fuck you.
And now New York's looking
That's
at it too. That's the energy we need. No, go fuck yourselves. This ain't happening, right? But that's the kind of stuff it's going to take.
And that's where Newsom was right. If there's
100%.
fire, you need to fight with fire. It's like that. It's like that saying, you don't bring a knife to a gunfight.
Need Newsom to be our next president. I don't need Newsom to do much of anything else other than be the governor of California, which he's had his problems, but guess what? He's the only one I see actually fighting back at this point.
Mm-hmm.
So we're going to ride at dawn because we need to fight against this at this point. And I need other
Mm-hmm.
governors to get the same energy going. Here, we got to fight fire with fire. I need our legislators to
Mm-hmm.
do that. I need our elected officials at the federal level to do that. We're not just going to make speeches. We're actually going to do some work now. Because
Yeah,
I don't even
just don't do
know
shit.
if we have elections in 2026, at least not fair and free ones. I don't know.
Mm-hmm.
Can't answer that question.
Mm-hmm. And it could be, it's interesting to me working in countries where either currently or before they've had fucked up situations, fucked up governments, and have met people that are actively fighting back or have meeting people in Argentina that fought back against the Videla regime and had people get disappeared and they're still alive and they're still kicking and they're still fighting. And the world, so this is for legislators, the world is literally looking at even the smallest sliver of when are the fucking Americans going to fight back? When are the fucking Americans going to actually say, no, fuck you, sir? I mean, because all of them say it is only going to get worse. And you do not want to fight when it gets worse. You don't want to fight when just a simple traffic stop disappears you as an American citizen and we never hear from you again, ever.
And I don't know if it's just because I'm delusional, because I am, or what, but I'm there. I was talking to Nick the other day. I was like, let him try me, right? That sounds like a fun challenge to me. Come test my ability to do a podcast or talk on the news or, come back through customs. I'm ready. But are the rest of you ready for that too, is the question. Are the rest of you ready to challenge those things when they start happening? Because it's not a matter of if now, it's a matter of when. When you got Pete Hegseth openly talking about whether or not women should have the right to vote, what's it going to take?
Yeah. My it's interesting because before all of these troop movements, my boss where I work at, she lived in Colombia during the conflict. And she was like, we're going to see troops on our streets. This was months ago. She was like, and I don't think Americans are ready for that.
A minor
And
inconvenience for us to get our lattes? We're not ready for this.
I think that is the issue, is that Americans have been too comfortable being comfortable or have been too comfortable for too long. And so people just want to live their life and whatever. And yes, all of us do. But there's a moment where you got to wake up and understand that ain't it anymore. Because if you don't have the willingness to fight back now and plan and strategize now, what are you going to do when Alligator Alcatraz and all the other detention centers or Uganda isn't just for immigrants and it's for anyone that speaks up?
Listen, and it's going to take our indigenous communities, right? Thank God for them down in Florida shutting that piece of shit down. But it's
Mm-hmm.
because of the indigenous communities and the fact that they've done the work and they've had to fight for centuries now. They were like, yeah, let's step up. Let's do this. But when are the rest of us going to do that? That's the question. And Nick and I were talking about it. The difference between us as the US and Nazi Germany, having been to Germany, having seen the terrain, having seen the size of their country. The size of Germany is not much bigger than the state of Nevada, right? So you had a much more condensed landmass where people were living in very close quarters, but there was also a smaller amount of people because, it was in the 1940s. It was logistically, it was much easier to round those people up because of their proximity to one another and then Europeans' proximity to one another. Y'all, it's going to take a lot of logistical movements to round not only the immigrants up, but now the people with visas up. And it's going to take even more to round all of us up. So, at what point do we step back and say, we're not scared of you? and we're not going to put up with this bullshit because you got to catch us all first, right? And that's my feeling on it is like, okay, pumpkin spice Putin, like, let's dance. I'm not afraid. I know you all want to be Nazis because they really are. They're like taking a page out of Mein Kampf, but it's like things are different. Fascism is fascism, but like we live in a very different country with a very different set of rules than Germany did at that time. So like, when are we going to use the privilege we have and stand up and be like, enough is enough? Like, we're not dealing with this bullshit from you. Not even legitimately elected. I'm tired of it. I'm tired of watching it. I'm tired of watching the Dems. I was like, this is the worst movie I've ever seen. What kind of a hellscape loop are we on? The worst one.
Yeah, literally the worst one.
And then we got our president literally rolling out a red carpet for a war criminal, but making Zelensky go look at his stupid hats.
That
we live on the dumbest timeline.
That is probably the worst thing you can do to a man whose country is literally dying. And you're like, yo, I know you need me, so come look at my fucking hats. Where it says Trump 2028.
Meanwhile, yeah, in the White House, because that's appropriate. Meanwhile, Putin's getting off his plane in Alaska on American soil. We're normalizing this shit. We're not arresting him. We're normalizing him getting off a plane, coming down a red carpet, and getting in the Beast, the car that the president rides in. That's a normal thing. While Ukrainians are dying, and Putin literally is bombing American factories in Ukraine.
Yeah. So, but yeah, no, let's act like things are fine. Let's not try to, the little things that we can't control, do them well. Let's just fuck around.
Fight about who's going to be the speaker in Nevada. That makes sense.
I'm just going to not only make Succession my favorite show, like, some people do, but I'm actually going to have people live it at a time when we need to actually act like we're on Fury Road.
I'm so sick of this timeline. Anyways, all right. Well, it's been a good first show.
Now we're back.
Yeah. We're going to have a guest next week. I'm super excited. We're going to go out or come back in the same way we're going out. So I'm excited for that. We're going to have a couple of guests this season that are different from last season, which is great. We got a couple surprises planned. So I think it's going to be a great season. I'm ready.
Woo. Yeah.
Let's do this.
We might, I'm glad we didn't disappear and that we're back from our extended recess.
Yeah.
And that we're going to witness the demise of democracy, the world, the universe.
Together. Just like we do everything.
Yeah, together. Yeah. Yeah. Exactly. So we're officially back, everyone. We'll be here every week.
Tell us what you want to hear about. Tell us what you want to talk about. Share this with your friends. Share this with your family. Get more people involved. We're going to need to hear from them. Want to hear what you want to, learn about this season. We're an open book. We'll tell you anything. So put it in the chat. Let us know what you want to hear about. And yeah, we're back in session. We're not changing the name. 1 Minute Recess stays. And we'll be here every week, keeping it sharp, sassy, snarky, and enough to get you through the news without crying yourself to sleep.
Yep, exactly. So remember, recesses are supposed to be short, but these podcasts aren't. So grab your snack every week, listen up, laugh at the chaos with us, and we'll see you next week.
Thanks so much. Summer's over. It's time to get back to work. See you soon.
Yeah.